Today, we're going to dive into a really deep and, let's be honest, a pretty challenging spiritual idea. What do you do when you actually have an enemy? The answer we're going to explore isn't about getting even. It's about something much deeper, a kind of radical inner shift. So, let's get into it.
It's a question we've all had to ask ourselves, right? When someone's hurt you, or betrayed you, or they're just standing in your way, what's the right thing to do? Our first instinct is usually about winning, or getting some kind of justice, or at the very least, just protecting ourselves. But the spiritual path we're looking at today, it gives us a completely different playbook.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll talk about the real weight of carrying an enemy around. Then, we'll look at why just following the rules isn't quite enough. After that, we'll get into the radical response that's required, what it really means to let go of our riches, and finally, we'll touch on the idea of a final judgment.
Okay, first things first, let's just be real for a second. Having an enemy, holding on to all that anger and resentment, man, it is a heavy, heavy burden. It just camps out in your head, messes with your peace of mind, and keeps you totally stuck in whatever happened. It's a universal problem, something pretty much all of us have to deal with at some point. We all kind of get the basic rules, right? Love your neighbor. But that's easy when you like your neighbor. The real test, the real challenge is what you're supposed to do with the person you just can't bring yourself to forgive, the one you'd call an enemy. That's where the simple rules can feel like they just fall apart. And it's this exact dilemma that a very famous story really digs into.
So this leads us right into the story of a rich young ruler. Now, this was a guy who, on paper, was doing everything right. He followed all the rules, checked all the boxes, but he still felt like something was missing. And his story shows us the huge difference between just knowing the rules and actually living from your heart.
Just try to picture this guy's confidence. He walks right up to the teacher and basically lays out his perfect resume. I haven't stolen, haven't lied, I've honored my parents, I've done it all. He's so sure of himself. He's not asking for the basics, he's asking how to get to the absolute top, how to be perfect.
And this is where the whole story just flips on its head. The teacher doesn't argue with him. He doesn't say, no, you broke this rule or that rule. Instead, he looks right past that perfect checklist and straight into the man's heart. He pinpoints the one thing that this man is attached to more than anything else. And the instruction is so simple, but at the same time, impossibly hard. It wasn't about the money, not really. It was a call to completely change what his life was centered on. And here's the really tragic part of the story. He couldn't do it. He walked away full of grief, not because he was a bad person, but because his attachment to his stuff, to his comfort, to his whole identity, was just stronger than his desire to be whole. This story is the perfect example of how true faith isn't about passing a test, it's about the state of your soul.
So if just following the rules isn't the answer, then what is? Well, this gets us to the core teaching about how to handle an enemy. And it's not about ignoring them or just kind of passively forgiving them in your head. No, it's about taking some really radical, seriously counterintuitive actions.
Now, look at how active these instructions are. This is not a passive approach at all. The source material is basically telling us to do the exact opposite of what our instincts scream at us to do. When someone curses you, you want to curse them right back, right? Nope. Bless them. When you feel that hate bubbling up, your instinct is to talk trash about them. Instead, speak well of them. And when they hurt you, the gut reaction is revenge. The instruction? Do something good for them.
There's this quote that just sums it all up so powerfully. It paints this incredible picture. It's like this aggressive act of goodness. You're not just putting up with your enemy, you are actively, intentionally working for their good, piling on these blessings until there's just no room left for the hate. It's a spiritual strategy meant to shatter that cycle of conflict, not just for them, but maybe even more importantly, for you.
So, you might be wondering, what does blessing your enemy have to do with that rich young ruler? Well, the connection is one single word: attachment. The reason we can't do either one, it comes from the exact same place. And this next part really unpacks what those possessions really are.
Okay, so here's the absolute key. The command to sell your possessions is really a metaphor. The argument is that God doesn't actually care what's in your bank account. The real riches, the ones that stop us from finding peace and forgiving our enemies, they're the riches of the ego. It's our pride that makes it impossible to bless someone who cursed us. It's our anger and our resentment that we cling to like treasure. And oh man, it's that desperate, burning need to be right. Those are the possessions we're being asked to sell.
And when you put it side by side like this, the contrast is, well, it's stark. It's night and day. The world teaches us to pile up stuff, to protect our ego at all costs, to hold on to our anger because it feels like justice. But this spiritual path asks us to trade all of that in for something way more valuable, for faith, for humility, for forgiveness, and for the kind of freedom you only get when you act out of love. That's the great exchange.
And suddenly, that famous, often misunderstood line, it just clicks, doesn't it? It's not about shaming people with money. It's a warning to anyone who is rich in the things on the left side of this chart. Anyone who's heavily invested in their own pride, their own anger, their own rightness, they're going to find it incredibly hard to find that inner peace because they're just too weighed down by everything they're clinging to. Look, let's be super clear here. This philosophy isn't saying it's bad to have a house or a career. The problem isn't the thing itself. It's the attachment. It's when our heart gets tied up in knots around these things, whether that's money or our reputation or even our own anger, that's when we lose our spiritual freedom. That's when we become just like that rich young ruler turning away sad because we're asked to let go.
All right, so this is where it all comes together. This is the final piece of the puzzle. The focus now shifts away from our day-to-day squabbles to the ultimate perspective, framing every single choice we make in the context of one single critical moment.
See, all of this stuff, blessing your enemies, selling off your ego's possessions, it isn't just a self-help trick for a happier life. In this particular worldview, it's all about preparation. It's about training your soul, getting it into a certain state. Because everything, absolutely everything, gets measured in that final moment of life.
This might be the most sobering, most powerful line in the entire text. It completely reframes the whole idea of judgment. This isn't about some cosmic calculator adding up your good deeds and bad deeds over a lifetime. It's something much more immediate and much more personal.
So what does that actually mean? It means the judgment being described here is about the condition of your soul at the very end. Are you found there clinging with a white-knuckled grip to your grudges, your pride, your attachments? Or are you found in a state of release, a state of forgiveness, humility, and faith? The person you have been building, moment by moment, choice by choice, all culminates in that final state of being, and that is the judgment. And so this whole spiritual journey comes full circle and lands right back with you, with one last, really piercing question. For just a minute, forget about everyone else, your enemies, the people who wronged you. When it's all said and done, in that final moment of accounting, what will your hands, what will your heart, what will your soul be found holding on to? That's the question we're left with.